I will make a presentation regarding the STCW 2010. So the question is, truth or dare? So despite the fact that the new STCW has been accepted by diplomatic conference in Manila back in June 2010, unfortunately, many people are not aware of the implications of the new STCW. So there are many things that need to be properly addressed, to put it kindly. So I will try to do a brief risk assessment with you on the implementation of the new STCW, and I will try to answer, should it be truth or dare? So, if a ship owner is having a vessel, then he is having some sort of problems. So, if you have a vessel, you will have problems. So, you need to be properly identify these problems and manage these problems before they end up in a game over. A game over should be anything in between, let's say, €1,000 fine, in between, let's say, a company shutting down operations, or you have a CTL and you don't get the money from the insurers. It could be anything in between a vessel detention, let's say for a delay of 1 or 2 days, and in between Exxon Valdez, or you name it, Costa Concordia, or whatever, Deepwater Horizon, you name it, it's there. So the point is, if you have a vessel, you will have problems. Then if you have problems, you have to be properly manage these problems and document these problems. This is the role of the human element. We're talking about the human element here. Then you need to learn from them. If you don't learn from these problems, then problems will repeat themselves. So this is a real-life problem. If you don't learn, then you will have a huge mess in the long run. Now, every company is having a system. What they don't tell you is that the system is comprised of 2 key components: papers and culture. Now, if you go to papers, it's called SMS in these days. It could be ISM manuals, company documents, rules and guidelines. It could be anything issued by the company, including circulars, letters, email, logbooks, circulars, whatever. You name it, it's there. If you have a paper from the company, it's there. It's part of the SMS. You cannot send an instruction to the vessel saying, Captain, forget Marpol. Now it's called Marpol in these days. In IMO, I'll tell you a secret, they are thinking of changing the name of Marpol. They will call it ZPOL by 2020. ZPOL, zero pollution. So there won't be any marine pollution. It will be ZPOL. So you name it, it's there. If you have something sent to the vessel, it's part of the SMS. Now, the second ingredient, key ingredient of the SMS is the culture, the way we do business here. It could be called safety culture, quality culture, environmental culture. Do we have the right culture? I said in my opening statement, you have to think a little bit of Henry Ford. Quality means doing it right when no one is looking. Are you doing it right? Are we doing it right? I said, my view is, I'm not sure. I know thousands of people and hundreds of companies, I'm not sure. So every company is looking for the right people, the right ship, and the right systems in order to have a first class or a flawless operation, as they call it in these days, an operation without error, for some of you who are not familiar with the term flawless. So you need to have the right people, and here we are. We have SOLAS, Marpol, we have STCW, I'll be speaking of the STCW, and we have Maritime Labour Convention. This is a human element session, so we're talking about the soft issues here. I will be speaking of STCW. Now, these are the key, let's say, dues for a ship owner up to the 1st of January of 2012. This is the deadline for the implementation of the new STCW. These are the key, let's say, actions due, and these are the requirements, let's say, due to be implemented after the 1st of January of 2012. So I'll do a risk assessment with you. These are the 10 key problematic areas in the new STCW. The first one is the onboard familiarization. The new STCW has certain provisions for more extensive familiarization. It's not only basic safety, it's specifically safety, security, environmental, emergency, and equipment specific. If you go to previous STCW, you might have generic equipment specific requirements. Now you have specific and explicit equipment specific requirements, plus responsibilities for both the seafarer and the ship captain. The second one is the ship-specific familiarization. Many people read in the new STCW and they cannot find the requirement about the ECDIS, the type-specific training. Believe me, it's there. It's B114. This is the rule. So this is the requirement. You need to have more extensive ship-specific familiarization. It applies to ECDIS. It also applies to any other sort of equipment that anyone, repeat, anyone may ask. Let me give you some examples. Free-fall lifeboats, oil water separator, incinerator, ballast water treatment systems, and you name it, anything. Anyone can board the vessel and ask for ship-specific familiarization. So we have a real-life problem here, not addressed. The next one is about the work and rest hours. The new STCW, John Dickey was speaking earlier on, the new STCW provides for not 72 hours of work, but 91 hours of work per week. This 91 hours of work per week. If you do the maths, many of you know that I'm a math genius, so if you do the maths, 24 times 7 is minus 77 hours of rest, it will give you maximum 91 hours of work per week. Do you work 91 hours of work per week? I rarely exceed this limit, and I can tell you if you exceed these 91 hours per week, you won't be any productive. You won't be. I don't know for you, I'm sure I'm not productive if I, let's say, pass this 90. I may have been reaching, let's say, 100 hours a week. I'm not telling this, I'm not proud of this. I'm just saying if you pass this 90 hours, 91 hours per week, you are not productive. And I'm not doing, seaboard work. I'm doing paperwork at the office. So you won't be any productive. Now, the rest hours thing, it's very difficult to implement. You need to accommodate for drills. There's no exemption allowed. There's an exemption rule incorporated in the new STCW regarding the 70 hours per week. It cannot happen in real life. You have the Safety4Sea log. I have an article over there why you cannot do it. It's called Have You Done Your Math Lesson? It's also in Safety4Sea. In my view, I have two articles in safety4sea.com. Both articles are the top 10 of the most read pages from the beginning of the website since now. One is STCW 2010, what you need to do, and the other one is about the maths lesson. I'm amazed. People don't know what to do with the new STCW. So you need to have flags specifically define how to apply an exemption. So if a flag says 77 hours and that's it, you cannot, let's say, have an exemption. I don't know of any flag so far allowing the exemption of 70 hours rest per week. So you need to have logbook entry, and of course you need to have fatigue management, which is the next one. So fatigue management, you need to do it because you see the math here for the rest hours. On a daily basis, you have maximum 14 hours of work plus minimum 10 hours of rest. That gives you a 0 hours balance. If you do it on a seven let's say, day period, any 7-day period, as they call it in the new STCW, you have maximum 72 hours. This is what the new MLC states. 72 hours maximum of work, plus minimum 77 hours of rest. That will give you 19 hours balance. So what are these 19 hours? If you forget and skip the maximum hours of work thing, then it's work. If you calculate only minimum hours of rest, as I said earlier on, you have 91 hours of work per week. That's normal, okay? That's routine. Now, you need to have, as a minimum, a poster regarding fatigue management. It's specifically identified in Part B of the STCW, in line with MSC Circular 1014 of the IMO. This is approximately a 10-year-old circular. So you need to have fatigue management as a minimum, not only as a poster, but you need to also implement these practices identified over there. You have mandatory drug and alcohol requirements. This is now Part A, meaning mandatory for all operators. For those operating tankers, nothing new. For those operating dry bulk, you need to have policy, you need to have training programs, crisis management, employee education, counseling, treatment, and rehabilitation, plus drug and alcohol testing, plus, of course, program review and evaluation. This is in line with the new ILO guide, the ILO guidelines regarding drug and alcohol. You need to have ECDIS training for those having ECDIS-fitted vessels, So the ECDIS training, it's type-specific. You have the generic, the 1.27 IMO model course. For those who are not familiar, this model course was issued back in 2000. IMO has released a new model course. This is one of the key problems. We're talking about ECDIS, and the model course for the ECDIS training was drafted, let's say, released back in 2000, drafted somewhere in the mid-90s. So this is a real-life problem. We have a new model course, 2012. Of course, you need to have type-specific, the exact model, and of course, you need to have additional bridge checklist familiarization with ECDIS as a minimum normally, because you don't have any sort of documentation on board. And if you have an accident with ECDIS, which I should not recommend to anyone, so you will have a huge mess in order to properly demonstrate. As I said, if you have a problem, you need to identify, you need to handle, and you need to document, and you need to learn from this. So if you have a real-life navigational problem with an ECDIS-fitted vessel, it doesn't matter if it's ECDIS certified or not. If ECDIS are fitted on board the vessel, then you have a problem, and the problem should be solved. You need additional bridge checklist familiarization with ECDIS. Then you have free-fall lifeboat training. Many vessels are being fitted with free-fall lifeboats. B1/14.2 since 2008 states specifically the text that you read in here, prior joining a ship, blah, 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 training in boarding, launching, recovering, blah, blah, blah. Prior boarding a ship. So there's no, this is a real problem, there's no such training available. If you go to a training academy or a training, let's say, provider, there's no such course available to do it specifically for this. There's no such course. But here it's identified. So if you have a free-fall lifeboat and you have an accident, which I'm sure you know that this is the case in these days, if you have a free-fall lifeboat, most probably you will have an accident. Then if you don't have something like this, either a DVD, a video from the manufacturer, training, fleet-wide, you name it, if you haven't done anything, you will have a problem. You will be crucified in plain Greek. You have security and anti-piracy. This is the outline of the new security measures. I said earlier on that ISPS is a bullshit regulation. Someone should take the initiative to say, we stop ISPS. We maybe, let's say, add a chapter in the ISM code, you name it. But normally, someone should start the initiative, stop ISPS. Okay, it's a lot of things, not necessarily providing anything on board the vessel. Now we have, besides the ship security officer course and the security-related familiarization, we have basic security awareness for persons with designated security duties, without designated security duties, and advanced security awareness for persons with designated security duties. If you go to a passenger ship, that would make sense. If you go to an ocean-going ship with 20, 30 persons of crew, it doesn't make sense. And of course, we have anti-piracy training. The thing that I think the industry misses at the moment is that the deadline for all the security training, besides the phase-in period, which is the 1st of January of 2017 for the existing crews, the deadline is the 1st of January of 2014. So if you think 2014 is, let's say, far away, it's only 15 months away. And you need to have it on board. Meaning if you send someone on board the vessel, let's say the March of 2013, June of 2013, and this person stays on board on 1st of January of 2014, this person needs to have advanced security awareness plus anti-piracy training. Then you need to have manning agent control. One of the things with a new MLC, you need to audit the manning agent. In real life, you need to audit the manning agent. Manning agent is doing a crucial fraction of what you do. He has responsibility, so you need to audit. And then I will give you an example of English. Someone said to me, Apostolos, don't worry. We have the manning agent taking care of the English language requirements. I would like to find out who, when, where, how, and what about the records. Many people say, we have the manning agent familiarizing our crews. How exactly is he doing this? How? Have you sent him copies of your SMS? How many, let's say, persons are responsible at the manning agent offices? 1, 2, none. How is he doing it? Is he providing, let's say, a desk and having someone reading the manuals, and then, let's say, after half an hour, 2 hours, someone breaks in the room and says, have you done anything? How about record keeping? How is this manning agent implementing these requirements that you have posted to him? So you need to identify these issues, and you need to also consider auditing the manning agent. In real life, there are many issues also not addressed by the new STCW. Safety officer training. Everyone knows that on board each vessel we have a safety officer, a training officer, an environmental officer. There's no training identified in the STCW. If you go to a tanker operator, they should have training for all these officers. Then you have ship safety representative in line with the new MLC. IMO was considering having a training for this ship safety representative. Nothing officially released yet, but it's something. Then you have cooks for the MLC. No STCW provision for this one. We have mandatory enclosed space entry training. It's discussed in the latest DSC. It will be decided in the forthcoming MSC 91. It will be into force most probably mid-2013 and 2013. And then you have to provide rescue from enclosed space training as well. So these are the things that are coming. They have been decided, but not formally released yet. And of course, nobody said to the guys on board the vessel how to carry out drills. So that's it. I have to be precise on time and concise because I have to give the example to the other speakers. So they have to keep this 15-minute rule. So I have to keep it as well. So trying to give you the last one, I said at the beginning, is it truth or dare? So my answer is a bit, let's say, a little bit political one. You need both. It's not only truth or dare. In real life, you have a lot of gray. So you need to have both. If you don't have both, you will have a problem. So thank you all very much for your attention.